I'm too high for my skirt. Good afternoon, everybody. I've never spoken for 5 minutes before, always longer, so I'm going to struggle. But Neul is a new company in Cambridge, begun in 2010. I'm not going to talk about it for very long. Come and find me afterwards if you want to know. But something that's quite funny is Neul is the Gaelic word for cloud. We're talking about cloud today. But the actual inside story is that it was a four-letter.com, which is meant to be funny. Anyway, so the digital economy. This is meant to be sort of weightless, instantaneous global communication. But it's all predicated on connectivity. We heard this morning that none of it works unless you have connections. We know already, if you just listen to any of the talks on networks, that the existing mobile and wired infrastructure is heaving under the strain. And with the 50 billion connections that have been predicted for M2M, how are they going to cope? I recently did a tour of Asia with Microsoft, and this phrase stuck in my mind. Connectivity is the oxygen of a digital economy, because without it, there is no digital economy. So how are we going to enable this connectivity, both for people and for things? Neul has developed technology that delivers a new way of looking at network connectivity. In the world, we're moving from analog to digital television, and this is prime UHF spectrum that has inherent characteristics to make network infrastructure more cost-effective. The signals themselves can travel a long way. They have true non-line-of-sight capabilities, which means they can penetrate buildings. They can go effectively through trees or over hills. So actually the infrastructure for deploying in the third world, for emerging economies, or for M2M applications like smart cities or smart transport or well, anything really to do with machine-to-machine, it's ideal. The FCC has already made this spectrum license exempt in the US, and Ofcom and other regulators around the world are looking at doing the same. In the UK, we potentially have 120 megahertz of spectrum that could be used for machine-to-machine connectivity. But that's just one aspect, okay? So you need more connectivity. But for machine-to-machine, how do you utilise the network across all of the verticals that were spoken about this morning? So what Neul are also trying to do is to create an ecosystem, and part of that is developing a new standard. So we have a standard called Weightless that has been set up in a special interest group like Bluetooth, and Cambridge Wireless are administrating that for us. In fact, William Webb's even wrote a book on Weightless. Sorry, I had to plug William. The standard is specifically designed to become a ubiquitous standard for M2M connections, so it will address all the vertical markets, hence the special interest group, and we have members of the group from all aspects of industry to ensure that it does meet the needs for smart transport, for smart cities, for all of these applications. We have networks already deployed in 3 continents looking at various different applications. In Japan for sensor networks for disaster recovery, in Singapore for smart city type applications for water level, in monitoring water levels in the ground so that they can turn the sprinklers on automatically. In the US for just primarily telemetry and connectivity applications in oil and gas fields. So the technology is being tested and it is delivering. Something else that's quite key is, well, that I'm not going to address today, is what do we do with all the data? It was mentioned this morning. So if we have 50 billion things connected to the internet, what do we do with all that data? So it's all about smart technology. How do you, if you like, turn the information from the sensors into something useful? So it's all about creating that feedback loop to ensure that the information from, let's just say, water level monitors in the Philippines actually come into a database, and action is made based on that information to do something like send out a flood warning or send out information to say, you know, that something disastrous, I suppose, is going to happen. This is something Neul doesn't address, but we're working with partners across the whole value chain to, 1, create the devices, 2, we provide the network, and 3, create the applications that live in the cloud that do something with the data to enable the smart economy. I guess I'll end, because I've got too many words and I've sort of lost the plot, if I'm really honest. I believe, to answer the question of connectivity being the oxygen for a digital economy, I believe Neul has the technology to enable all the connections to breathe. Thank you very much.